because I'm moving stuff around right now. Yeah, I'll move it closer. You can see and hear me? Okay, I'll move it closer. They're going to be on a mic. Anyway, so.
Pick up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yes, yes. And then there's Uncle Ron right there, so. All right. See him there. Oh, hold on. Uncle, Daddy wants up.
Yeah. Okay, you're setting up shop here?
I think I'm gonna move it over here.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Gonna...
Yeah, well, go visit the thing about me. I drive on bike, I take it out of my pocket. Yeah, no.
Oh, that's Uncle. Yeah, Dada? Mm-hmm. I'll just put it down. You want to go closer?
Yeah, I from the floor, please. It's like
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me see if I can find some. What is that thing? To raise it? It's on a table right now. Oh, yeah, I showed that already. Okay. All right. Just WhatsApp me if you need anything. If you need me to change it. All right. Maybe. Actually, let me know. Is this higher, Daddy? It's good? Yeah, that's better. Thanks, Uncle. Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks, Dada. All right. Yeah, it's right there. It's already on top of the thing. Yeah, the mic's right here. Right there? Okay. Let me see. Hello? You hear that? Okay. All right. Thanks, Dada. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me see if I can move some stuff. Okay. This is the furthest back I can go. Because the walls are right behind here. That's good? Okay. All right. Speaker is right here, so. Okay. All right. WhatsApp me if you need anything, Daddy. Okay. All right. Love you. Love you. Bye.
We care some people.
Is it chapter 2? From 22 to 27.
Before we start, we need to go out and let them know so that we can get the lights for the floor.
But not much people know about their advice.
Some people might want to, they never know.
People coming? Is that what it is? I have my coworker calling me again. I don't remember who took in the Tolman. Which one was the one I was speaking on the picture? I don't remember. No, you know, you ended up going. You were talking to them. It was not that. That's what it was. The dentist cleaning is all that stuff. Not exactly. It's not getting on. Etc.
Oh, you can use this. No problem. You can use this.
She's on. She got on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Can you do?
Yes.
Namaste. Good afternoon, everyone. Sitaram, namaste. Let us all please stand for a few minutes as we begin the ceremony this evening. This is the Antim Anteshti Sanskar, and I think we have Dr. Tolan and others viewing remotely. Namaste to all the family members, all the friends as well. We are what's called the Antim Anteshti Sanskar, the final of 16 sanskars or rites in the life of the Hindus. Not too long ago, I had the pleasure of being in celebration at my Rama home, where we celebrated Dr. Tolan's birthday on January 1st of this year. I had the privilege of having lunch with Uncle here, Grandpa. And today we are here 4 months later to perform the Antim Sanskar. In this period of COVID-19, this pandemic, we are confined or restrained in terms of what we can do and the offerings we can make as well. But we'll do our very best based on the restrictions and circumstances to accommodate everyone. Also, we must thank Fred Hunter's Funeral Home. Thank you for accommodating us. And we ask for the blessings of Bhagavan Shri Krishna to take other soul back home to where he belongs. I don't debate. Oh my goodness. So today he would have been 91 years old. And so 91 years ago on this day, and I have to say it's a memorial, a very memorable day indeed, that he's being buried on his birthday. May Bhagavan Shri Krishna keep him in the abode. Let us all clasp our hands, bow our heads and close our eyes in prayer. Let's chant Holy Hands as we begin the sermon this evening. Ram Nam Satya Hai, Om Sarvagati, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Shri Saraswatye Namaha, Shri Guru Charana Kamalebhyo Namo Namaha, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Om Shri Govinda Govinda Govinda, Adya Shri Brahma Bhagavata Mahapurushasya, Adya Ya Parvata Manasaya, Adya Brahmana Vidya Parhade, Shvetavaraha Kalpi, Vaisavastava, Manvantare, Ashtavim, Shatitame, Kalyugi Pratamne Pade, Crown Chaudripe, Andhika, Andhu Uttara, America Ishe, Asmin, Vartamani, Vara, Parike, Prabhavadava, Shashta, Samvat, Saranam, Madhye Nam, Samavarsare, आता नाम से व्यास युक्त आसमान विष्णु योगा विष्णुना एवं गुणचा विष्णुशा विष्णुताम आस्यम पुण्य भाव अमुक नामस्य है अमुक गोत्रस्य है अमुक प्रेतस्य है अंत्येष्टि कर्म अहम करिष्ये ओम अंत्येष्टि कर्म अरिष्ये. Om Yam Brahma Varunindra Rudramarta Sunavanti Divya Save Vedai Sangapada Karmopanishadai Sare Gayanti Yam Samagaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayati Girim Yaritripatmaham Vande Paramanandam Madhavam Om Shantakaram Bhujagashayanam Padmanabham Suresham Vishwadharam Gagan Satrisham Meghavarnam Subhangam Lakshmikantam Kamalayanam Yogi Vidyanaganyan Vande Vishnu Bhavai Haram Sarvaluka Ekanatham Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Ram Nam Satya Hai. Please be seated. As we begin the ceremony this evening, I ask you to join me in chanting the name of Bhagavan Shri Krishna in the following bhajan. Jai Krishna Hare Shri Krishna Hare Dukhiyo ko dukha dur kare Jai 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 Krishna Hare Jab char taraf diyara hu Aasha ka dur kinara hu Jab char taraf diyara hu Aasha ka dur kinara hu और कोई न केवन हारा हो और कोई न केवन हारा हो फिर तू ही मेरा पार करो जय 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 कृष्ण हरे जय कृष्ण हरे श्री कृष्ण हरे दुखियों को दुख दूर करे जय 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 कृष्ण हरे तू चाहे तो सब कुछ कर दे विष को भी अमृत कर दे तू चाहे तो सब कुछ कर दे विष को भी अमृत कर दे पूर्ण कर दे सबकी आशा पूर्ण कर दे सबकी आशा जो भी तेरा ध्यान धरे फिर जो भी तेरा ध्यान धरे जय 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 कृष्ण हरे जय Jai Krishna Hare Sri Krishna Hare Dukkhiyon ko dukh dur kare Jai 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 Krishna Hare Jai 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 Krishna Hare Jai 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 Krishna Hare. Om Adhyamukha Gotrasya Amukha Pretasya Nritstane Shaunimit Snananam Paya Diyate Tavo Pratishtitam Iti Shau Snanam Samarpayami Iti Shau Snanam Samarpayami. Om Adhyamukha Gotrasya Amukha Pretasya Nritstane Shaunimit Chandanam Maya Diyate Tavo Pratishtitam Iti Chandanam Samarpayami. Om Adhamukha Gotrasya Amukha Pretasya Vitstani Shaunimit Gandhanam Maya Diyate Tavo Prachichitam Iti Gandhanam Samarpayami Gandhanam Samarpayami. Om Adha Amukha Gotrasya Amukha Pretasya Nritstani Shaunimit Pushpamala Diyate Tavo Pratishtitam Iti Pushpamala Samarpayami Iti Pushpamala Samarpayami. Om Tavo Mala Pratishtitam. Om Adhamukha Gotrasya Mukha Pretasya Vristani Shaunimit Pushpamala Diyate Pushpamala Tavo Pratishitam Om Iti Pushpamala Samarpayami. Let us all please stand again for a few minutes. Go ahead. Om Yam Dware Mahagaure Anhan Aitamasmrite Tatvaroka Nathaya Deepo Yam Pratishthitam Om Arha Amuka Gotrasya Amuka Pretasya Mritstane Shaunivita Om Sa Om Yam Dwara Mahagaure Anhan Aitamasmrite Tatvaroka Nathaya Deepo Yam Pratishthitam Om Arha Amuka Gotrasya Amuka Pretasya Mritstane Shaunivita Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Keep singing, keep singing. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Okay, everyone, please take your seats again for a few minutes.
me with you first, and then I'll do something.
Okay. This part of the ceremony is almost one more circle. The burial is across the street, right?
Yes.
Yes. Sit around, everyone. Namaste. Good morning or good afternoon. Sorry. Hope everyone is doing well based on the circumstances. And to all, I think we have a lot of folks also virtual this morning, this afternoon. Sorry, I just came up from one. Sorry about that. Yesterday we cremated my eldest aunt. She was known as our mama, like a mother to me as well in Atlanta. So it's been a tough few days. To all of you here in the Tolan family, my dear brother Rohan and others, Didi, my brother Winston, Vishu and others who are looking on, I say to you, my heartfelt condolences to this family. I consider myself part of your family. And as you know, we have a very close ties with all the brothers. And this morning we call him Grandpa's birthday, we are going to say goodbye to this body. Here's the thing, right? We all understand the concept of the body and the soul. The soul has already left this body. And how long, when did he pass? I'm sorry. 6th of April. 6th of April. So on the 6th of April, that soul left this body. We are basically committing this body back to the earth. We have all come from the earth. We are part, one day we either we're cremated or we're buried. We will go back to this earth. So this constant, the only thing that's constant ever in life, the only thing that's constant is change. And what changes? Change of state. The cells in this body, they die and regenerate every few seconds. There are millions of cells on a daily basis. So this state of birth and death is relatively common. It's a common thing. I'll start off by saying this afternoon, those who we love shall never die. Because even though the soul has left on the 6th of April, today we commit this body into the earth. We can think of Grandpa like this in a flash of a second, and a good memory will always pop back in our heads, right? And we always will remember him for the good things. I know he was a comedian. He always likes to give jokes, and for that we'll always remember him. You see, cherished memories, they will never fade just because a loved one is gone. Those we love can never be more than a thought away. And as long as there's memory, they will always live in our heart. Though Grandpa is no longer with us in person, he will never be gone. And I always say this, we as humans, we decorate our homes. Boy, I hate these masks, I'm sorry. We as humans, we decorate our homes, with beautiful ornament pictures and decorations and so forth. Well, on the 6th of April, God decorated his own heaven with the soul of our beloved Grandpa. And to that, we say, God, thank you, and keep him safely, keep him in your abode. Don't send him back on this earth to go through COVID-21, please. Death leaves a heartache that no one can heal. But love will always leave a memory that no one can steal. And please remember these words. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord speaks about this soul, this Atman. He says to Bhagavan Shri, he says to Arjuna, chapter 2, verse 23, he says, Nainam chinnanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, na chainam kledyuyantyapo, na shukshati madutaha. He says, O Arjuna, this Atma or this soul, you can never cut it into pieces. Neither by a weapon, or it can never be buried or burnt in fire. You cannot destroy it. You can't even cut it with a knife, nor drown it in water. It has no race, it has no class, it has no caste, it has no creed, it has no passport, it has no name, it has no color. It belongs to no one, because it's part and parcel of God. We, in every single one of us here, we all have that Atma, that same soul that once was in Grandpa, that belongs to God. So this is why when we say namaste, you see all the leaders of the world now adopted, instead of shaking hands, they're saying namaste. In the Western world, they say namaste. What that means is, namaste means the God in me sees or recognizes the God in you. And that's so true, because in every single one of us, we are all part and parcel of God. So let us not forget this. Gandhiji says, he said, live as if we were to die tomorrow. Meaning, Leave no stone unturned. Live as you are to live forever. Bhagavad Gita tells us again, Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yad kripatamaham vande paramanandam madhavam. Om. Vasudeva sutam devam kansa chanuramardanam devaki paramanandam krishnam vande jagat gurum. Adorations to Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the divine one, the supreme bliss of Devaki, the destroyer of Kans, and the teacher of the world. We prostrate ourselves to all Madhava, the supreme bliss, whose power is reflected in enabling the dumb to speak and the lame to cross the highest mountains. This is the power of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. My dear brothers and sisters, I ask you to clasp your hands once more as we offer this prayer for peace. With the passing of this soul onto the next plane, we ask that Bhagavan Shri Krishna please accept him in his abode, keep him safely, and to bless all his children, all his grandchildren, siblings, and so forth, all those who are connected with him, so that his memory will always live, his legacy will always live on. Let us pray. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May all be auspicious. May all attain peace. Let there be contentment all over. May all be blessed. Om, peace, peace, peace. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukha bhag bhave. Om, shanti, shanti, shanti. May everyone be happy. May everyone be free from disease. May everyone have good fortune. And may no one encounter any ill fortune. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudakshate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamivavashishyate. That is perfect. This is perfect. Out of perfect comes perfection. Even after taking perfect out of the perfect, there is always perfect which will remain. And finally, Om Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Please join me in this final bhajan and then we have the eulogy. Pinjare ke panchi re tera dard na jaane koi, tera dard na jaane koi, बाहर से तू खामोश रहे है, भीतर भीतर रोए रे, भीतर भीतर रोए, तेरा दर्द न जाने कोई, तेरा दर्द न जाने कोई, कह न सके तू अपनी कहानी, तेरी भी पंछी क्या जिंदगानी रे, विधि ने तेरी कथा लिखी, आंसू में कलम डुबोए, तेरा दर्द न जाने कोई, तेरा दर्द न जाने कोई, पिंजरे के पंछी रे तेरा दर्द न जाने कोई, न जाने कोई, छुप के रोने वाले रखना छिपा के दिल के छाले रे, ये पत्थर का देश है पगले, कोई न तेरा होए, तेरा दर्द न जाने कोई, तेरा दर्द तेरा दर्द न जाने कोई, तेरा दर्द न जाने कोई, तेरा दर्द न जाने कोई, तेरा दर्द न जाने कोई. Thank you, Shiv. One last prayer before we go into the eulogy. That's it. Please, boy, let's close your eyes with me. Om Hiranyagarbha Purusha Vyapta Vyapta Sarupini Asya Pretasya Moksha Sharati Supreto Bhava Sarvada. From that supreme source of bliss you came. You lived as a source of bliss for so many. And to that supreme source of bliss, you are now returning. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Ram Nam Satya Hai. And we will have the eulogy now.
Speak louder.
This was written by Winston with contributions from other people. Author George Tolan, affectionately known as
Arthur George Tolan, affectionately known as Papa, Pops, Nanaji, Grandpa, Brother, Sup, among other names, was born on April 22nd, 1929, to Brandile Wilfred and Estuary Miriam Tolan, at Kingston Pen in Jamaica. He celebrated his 90th birthday last year with pride. He passed away peacefully on April 6th. He married Enid Ramde Maraj on March 7th, 1954. The marriage of happiness produced 6 children: Winston, Rowan, Pamela, Michael, Vishu, and Romy. He was a very hardworking, conscientious gentleman. He attended Ebenezer School and then Kingston Technical High School, which was one of the prestigious schools then. He worked tirelessly at the Public Works Department, PWD, located at Tivoli Gardens for 43 years, having started at the young age of 17. He was an A-class tractor and trailer mechanic. He was promoted to supervisor, and on completion of training in Scranton, Pennsylvania, in the early 70s, he was promoted to general supervisor in charge of all motor vehicle repairs at the Industrial Terrace plant. His hard and exemplary work at PWD saw him receiving the Government of Jamaica Long Service Award in August 1988 for 42 years of continuous employment to the PWD. He was a very strict disciplinarian, a man of integrity, humility, and dignity. Despite his humble job, he valued education and ensured his 6 children all went to high school, 3 of whom went on to higher learning. He prided the achievements of all his children, and we remember the humble start from Bethune Avenue, Norman Lane, and finally Pembroke Hall. Were 8 of us in a 2-bedroom house. We as children were determined to succeed, and he always provided enough to go to school, lunch money, food, etc., for which we will be eternally grateful. His marriage to Ramde was remarkable, and it was happiness for 61 years till she passed off in December 2015. Papa, despite his knowledge of heavy-duty equipment and motor vehicles, never drove in his life. He was very actively involved in the Indian community, having grown up across from Barma Hall in his earlier days. He was an excellent cook and was present at most pujas or dinner yards, weddings, and major functions in the company of the late Joseph Williams and Alpheus Roxton. His home at Pembroke Hall was the epicenter of numerous weekly satsangs, Diwali programs, and meetings of the Prema Satsang in its formative days. His siblings always remember him with pride, but as with us, a stern disciplinarian who looked out for the very best interests. They last gathered at the funeral service for his younger sister, Beryl William Singh, in May 2018. Siblings include Lucille Badassi, or Auntie Bates, Doris Sutmanan, Mavis Bacchus, and the popular Indian singer Gangaram Tolan. He remembered his good days at PWD and his Fridays at Miss Chin Bar with the late Mr. Sidney, Mr. Vernon, Mr. Barry, Mr. Blair, and Bruce. In his later years, to have a good conversation with him, just talk about public works. He lived a long and fulfilling life and many moments of happiness. To his in-laws, Lyle Duncan, Rowan Gaia, Dolores Tolan, Alyssa Tolan, Sharon Tolan, and to Lurleen Tolan, who was always there both morally and physically. We say a big thank you to you all, his grandchildren and great-grands. He loved you all. He had a great relationship with the relatives in Southwest and to Roslyn and family, Lucille, Dorothy, too numerous to mention all. But he and Mama enjoyed going to Southwest and spending weekends or times with the families there. We say a big thank you to the many family members, friends who cannot be here, who've expressed their condolences by calling, text, and personally. Truly, this was a great man with everlasting memories to share forever.
Reading is from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 20 and 22 to 27. The soul is neither born, nor does it ever die, nor having once existed, does it ever cease to be. The soul is without birth, external, immortal, and ageless. It is not destroyed when the body is destroyed. As a person sheds worn-out garments and wears new ones, likewise at the time of death, the soul casts off its worn-out body and enters a new one. Weapons cannot shred the soul, nor can fire burn it. Water cannot wet it, nor can the wind dry it. The body is unbreakable and incombustible. It can neither be dampened nor dried. It is everlasting in all places, unalterable, immutable, and primordial. The soul is spoken of as invisible, inconceivable, and unchangeable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. If, however, you think that the self is subject to constant birth and death, Almighty armed Arjun, even then you should not grieve like this. Death is certain for one who has been born, and rebirth is inevitable for one who has died. Therefore, you should not lament over the inevitable.
My memories of my father. Mama and Papa migrated to Florida in late 1996. The first couple of years they lived with us. My father was more like my older brother at the time. We had a brotherly relationship, even though he was much older than I. wherever I went, Pops used to go with me. Um, Shiva was born shortly after they came, and he was a gentleman that used to put him in a stroller and went up and down Pembroke Road, walking the sky. Shortly after, they moved to 3032 Southwest 67 Lane, which where they lived for the last almost 25 years. Um, Pops, while living there, I mean, we used to go to a lot of functions. He used to cook at a lot of functions here. But over the years, his health got a little bit, as he aged, his health got a little worse. So he stopped cooking, but he still attended function. After mom died, I think his health got worse. I mean, literally worse. So there was much places he could go. But I remember his calls in the morning. If you don't get a call from Pops by, say, 8 o'clock, you got to call him, and you don't get him, you got to go by his house. Because something got to be wrong. Because by 8 o'clock, the phone is ringing. Hi, son, how are you doing? Hi, daughter, how are you doing? All right, so if you don't get that call, you better make sure you call him. There's one thing until today I've been trying to figure out. The last 4 years, Pops had a helper or caregiver. The day we employed her and she went there, her name is Latoya. But Pops called her Nettie. To this day, nobody knows where he got that name from, but that's a name. When he got sick and came out to the hospital, we had a new caregiver whose name was Yvonne, but Pop still kept calling her Nettie. And as I said, to this day, none of us know why Pops called this lady Nettie. And this is one thing that we may never ever know why he called her Nettie. Also, I'm going to miss not going to McDonald's on a Saturday to get him his lunch. Pops loved mac chicken sandwich for his lunch. And he would call me on a Friday and says, remember my sandwich. That's all you want. No fries, nothing else. And every time I go to McDonald's, I'm going to remember that. Pops, you're gone, but you're not out of our hearts. You will never be. Never be.
Thank you all very much for those wonderful words, sentimental words. Would anybody else like to say? We have a couple of minutes left. Anybody else would like to offer a few words? No? No? Yes. Yes. You want to come on, lead us in the question now? I heard McDonald's and I get hungry. I have a cup. It's a cup. Let us all join in bhajans. My brother Winston, we can't hear you, but certainly I'm sure you're singing at home. This is one of his favorites as well. The meaning of his bhajan: we made our entry into this world alone, and in a similar manner we shall leave alone. On careful analysis, we find that life is
very short and nothing but affair. You have decorated mahals for many people with your kindness, but in return, only selfishness becomes evident, although you have undergone so much suffering. But from where have we come? What is our purpose? Do good, and hence fear nothing. It is you yourself who jumps into the fire of sins. No one stays in this world. We all have to leave one day. You are part of this unrealistic world, to which one is neither a teacher nor student. It is these 2 days of life, the 2 days of celebration we sing. आए भी अकेला जाए भी अकेला 2 दिन की जिंदगी है 2 दिन का मेला आए भी अकेला जाए भी अकेला 2 दिन की जिंदगी है 2 दिन का मेला जिन्हें के लिए है तूने महल सजाए मतलब की यार सारी सभी है पराए इनके लिए है कितना तूने दुख झेला 2 दिन की जिंदगी है 2 दिन का मेला आए भी अकेला जाए भी अकेला 2 दिन की जिंदगी है 2 दिन का मेला काहे को तू आया जग में क्या तुझको करना नेकी करम है कर ले दुनिया से डरना आपकी अगर में खुद को काहे दुख अकेला 2 दिन की जिंदगी है 2 दिन का मेला आए भी अकेला जाए भी अकेला 2 दिन की जिंदगी है 2 दिन का मेला कोई भी रहा ना जग में सबको है जाना झूठे जग में तूने किया है ठिकाना रहा ना यहाँ पर कोई गुरु और चेला 2 दिन की जिंदगी है 2 दिन का मेला आए भी अकेला आए भी अकेला 2 दिन की जिंदगी है 2 दिन का मेला 2 दिन की जिंदगी मेला We leave you with 2 more verses from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and then we'll go to the final stages of the ceremony this morning before we go to the cemetery for the burial. I recite from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verse 6, where Krishna says to Arjuna again, Yam yat vapi smaran bhavanam tajyate ante kalevaram tam evati kaunteya sadatad bhava bhavita. O Arjuna, thinking of whenever an object or person gives up this body at the time of death, that very object he attains, being constantly absorbed in that thought. Brothers and sisters, I have been to many, luckily fortunate for our grandpa nearly passed, very peaceful. But I have been to many ICUs and many hospitals where our people, especially the elder folk, on their last breath. And sometimes you ask them, if they're still conscious, you ask them, can you please chant the name of God? And their first reaction is, can't speak, can't say. You see, simply what this verse tells us in Bhagavad Gita, at that time of death, if you recall and if you recant and you repeat the name of God, it is very likely based on your karmic actions that Lord Krishna is waiting for you to take you back home. If you do not practice chanting the name of God all of your life, how can you expect to chant it at the time of death? It doesn't work that way. This is why beautifully we all sang, and of course those virtually as well, singing and chanting the name of God, whether it's Rama, Krishna, Allah, Jehovah, Christ, whatever the name of God is but one. We call it by many different names. On this afternoon, as we prepare now for this final stage, this next verse of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 227, I believe Didi had read it out. It says, for that which is born, death is certain. Anything that is born must die. And that which is dead, birth is certain. Lord Krishna says, therefore you should not grieve over an undescribable, inevitable situation or inevitable period in life, such as the passing of a loved one. He says, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrit yudhishthira janam muratascha tasman adhaparikaha yirthe natvavam suchi itiman hasi. Om Jai Shri Krishna. And finally, Lord Krishna, we ask now to take our grandpa home with you. Itna to karna swami, jab pran tan se nikle, Govind naam leke, ab pran tan se nikle. Shri Ganga ji ka tat ho, Jamuna ki vanchivat ho, mera sabra nikat ho, jab pran tan se nikle. Let us all sing. Govind jai jai, Gopal jai jai, Govind jai jai, Gopal jai jai, Radha Raman Hari Govind jai jai, Radha Raman Hari Govind jai jai, Govind jai jai, Gopal jai jai, Govind jai jai, Gopal jai jai, Radha Raman Hari Govind jai jai, Radha Raman Hari Govind jai jai, Govind jai jai, Gopal 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 jai jai, Radha Raman Hari Govind jai jai, Radha Raman Hari Govind jai jai, Radha Raman Hari Govind jai jai. Brothers and sisters, finally, there are two things in life that we never see, that we are not present when these things occur. One is our birth certificate. And what's the other one? The death certificate. What's most important though is what takes place between this birth certificate and this death certificate. This represents our karmic actions and what becomes of this soul, not the body. The body goes back into the earth. What becomes of the soul after death. And it is very important that if we miss this boat, if we miss this opportunity to realize one thing, who am I? Am I Pandit Neil, this body? No. I am just like you, part and parcel. We are all parts of God. We are God. The minute we understand who am I, where have I come from, where am I going, and how do I get there, then death becomes very simple, becomes very peaceful. There's nothing to worry about. Because as long as between the birth certificate and the death certificate, there are good deeds. We have served society, we have served mankind selflessly. That path to Bhagwan is already there. That ticket is already bought for us, ready to go. And we can die in peace. And I'll leave you with this, something to think about. Death is not a horrible thing. Death is not something bad. Because if it were bad, God will never give it to us. God does not know anything about suffering. He does not give us suffering, nor does he give us anything that's bad. We as human beings, we bring these things onto ourselves by our karmic actions. God only knows. God is beautiful. And if we understand this concept, then death is just a change of state. We're going to miss him, we know that. We're going to miss this loved one. And brother, I feel for you. If you need company to go to McDonald's Saturday, call me out. I say that with love. With that, let us move to the final part of this now. And I will ask maybe the family members first, if you'd like to come and there's flowers here. There's RT, you can put some flowers, do RT. We have about maybe 5 minutes left, so we can make this part of it quick, and then there's one more ritual that we need to perform. So if all the family members will come, minus the 3 boys, and you guys can take as many flowers as you like, offer to him, and you can do RT if you like, and then we will move to the final piece.
I did.
You did already? That's it? Yeah, okay. Do we have the keyboard back up, please? Break it into 4 pieces. Break it into 4 pieces. Symbolically, you take it out, put it behind your right, put it behind, put it right, and then face it down. Right, so you're gonna go watch like this first. You're gonna go east first, east. Pura eye, trip it down, Yamaha. Right, now put it inside. Back, west. Pachim eye, trip it down. Uttar Akshin, put it down, Yamaha. Yeah. Like last one now. Dakshin. Dakshin eye, trip it down, Yamaha. Place it on the side. Place it inside as well. Inside, okay. We are ready now to proceed for burial. Okay, we're ready. Start again about. We need the earth, we need the water, and the white piece of cloth over there. The rest of the stuff in that box can go back from the really Hawan, because it's really Hawan, right? I'm gonna put some on. Sorry.
Headed to the burial. I will live stream again once we're there. Uncle, can I end the stream now? I'll restream it. I'll restream again in about 10-15 minutes.